Hey, hey, thanks for joining me, Mike. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I had to run. I was in a coaching call, and then, wait, let me mute this. Hold on. Yeah, I was in a coaching call, and then I had this thing scheduled back to back, and I had to run and grab a water. Glad you're here. If you're just joining, come on in, come on in. I'm just going to put some cold water in this cup, and we're going to give people just a couple minutes to join. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, please. Just give me a thumbs up. I want to make sure that you can hear me. Okay, I don't have any thumbs up. So let me just make sure everything is good on my end. Hmm, 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 hmm. Let's see, let's see. Oh, good. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mike. All right, let's just get set up. Why is it? I don't know why it's 87 degrees in LA the day before Halloween. That's crazy. All right, how can I put both of these on one screen? Do this, that. Okay. 87 degrees is not good for trick or treating. So usually I take my kids out on Halloween, but this year I'm actually going to a costume party. Me and my husband are going to be Ike and Tina. Okay, let me start this presentation. Go full screen. And then we got to share this screen. There it is. Share desktop 2. Boom. All righty. Now you guys can see my screen. I just want to double check one more thing, and then we're going to hop right into this. There we are. There we are. Okay. Thank you for joining me for the first time, or again, for those of you who are joining me for a second time or third time on this masterclass. I promise I'm going to have some different topics later on, but right now I'm doing the masterclass again and again because people have been asking for it. So anyway, hi, I'm Katrina. This is 10x your income with co-living. Let me just make this a little bit smaller. Let me just set up my desktop. All right. All right. So, what we're going to go over today is the opportunity and the growth in co living. We're going to talk about the profit, how to open a group home in 6 steps, how to open a group home in 6 weeks. And I'll give you an invitation to either book a call with me or go ahead and jump into my coaching program, which is, I call it a startup intensive. And basically, you will learn everything you need to learn from A to Z on how to open your group home and have it profitable within 6 weeks. I actually just got off of a coaching call with one of my clients, my client Janice, and she has filled almost Saturday. She will only have 1 bed left to fill. So she has filled up all of her beds except for one. And she hasn't even done half of the marketing things that I taught her how to do. Hopefully, Janice is on this call. I told her to join it, but she hasn't done any of the email campaigns or any of that stuff. She just did she hit the streets. She hit the streets and she found people to fill her beds. So, anyway, I say that to say you can do it. Anybody can do this. It's not easy, but it is simple. I'll tell you that it is simple, but it's not easy. So we will also go into some Q&A. And let's go to the next slide. If you have questions, by the way, just put them in the chat, put them in. I don't know if the Zoom people can chat. I think you guys can chat and you could do Q&A. Put it wherever. I'll see it. If it's in the chat, I'll see it. If it's in the Q&A, I'll see it. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and put it in the chat and I will answer all the questions. And this is very casual, by the way. I'm going to be sipping my drink. I haven't even finished my snacks, but I usually have a Fresca. I don't have a Fresca right now. I got some ice water because it is too hot. It's hot in LA. It's 87. And I just refuse to turn on the AC. I refuse to turn on the AC when it is the day before Halloween. That's crazy. But anyway, okay, what is co-living? So some people call it a group home. Some people call it a group home. Some people call it co-living. It's basically a bunch of people that are unrelated and they live under one roof. So in a residential house, they live under one roof and they share the common areas. So they're sharing the kitchen, they're sharing the living room, but they either have a private room or they share a bedroom. And the benefit to this, well, there's a lot of benefits to this, and I think I go into it on another slide. But you have this companionship. And also, it's cheaper for the people to live in this type of situation because they're not paying as much as a private apartment or a private house. So there's a lot of benefits to this co-living, but it also benefits you as the owner and operator of the co-living. And by the way, you don't have to own the house. You can just own the business and rent the house and still do this business and make money. Most of my coaching clients actually rent the property. They don't buy the property, and they're still making a lot of money on their house. And what I'm going to show you in this slideshow is how you can make 10 times as much income on doing the group home or the co-living home versus doing a single family home. And I know it from experience because I used to rent out single family homes all the time. And then I started doing the co-living and I make 10 times as much money doing the co-living. So I'm going to show you that. And I am still getting over my upper respiratory infection. So I'm going to be drinking my water. All right. So like I said, it's rent by the room or rent by the bed. And so what is the difference between that and assisted living? I get that question a lot. Actually, when I started going into co-living, it was because I was interested in assisted living, because I knew that with assisted living, first of all, I love old people. I wanted to take care of elderly people. And then second, I knew that you could make a lot of money doing assisted living. So I ended up taking a course on how to become a residential assisted living manager. And I actually became certified as a residential assisted living manager for the state of Texas. And I learned about ADLs, activities of daily living. So when you have an assisted living facility, you're helping people with their ADLs, their activities of daily living. What exactly are ADLs? ADLs are like toileting, bathing, feeding, medication management, and things like that. So if you're helping people with things like that, and if you're providing meals, you have to be licensed. And I'm not against license at all. But you need to be licensed because that kind of stuff needs to be regulated. If you're going to be helping somebody bathe and you're feeding them and all that, you need to be licensed. And also, an assisted living facility has to have a sprinkler system. They have to have certain other safety procedures and things in place. Whereas independent living, like what I'm doing, there is no license required. It is unlicensed, but unlicensed does not equal illegal. It just means you don't have to have a license to do it. So that's the difference between assisted living and independent living. What I'm talking about today is independent living or co-living. Some people call it co-housing. Some people call it rooming house. That's what they call it in Canada. But I'm talking about independent group homes. Whereas assisted living, you're providing services, you're providing help with ADLs, activities of daily living. So that's the difference between what I'm going to talk about today and what assisted living is. And I'm going way off script. Let me just take a look, make sure I didn't miss anything else. Oh, I also get the question sometimes about, if you have a co-living house, what is the difference between doing the co-living versus a multifamily? Because people are like, well, I want to increase the return on my investment. I'm just going to go into multifamily. I'm going to go into multi-unit. And by multi-unit, I mean a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex. Multi-living is really cool. It's great. And you do get more money with multi-unit versus like a single family home. That is true. But co-living, you get even more of a return on investment versus the multifamily. And I'll tell you why. Because with the co-living house, you have one refrigerator, one kitchen, one living room. Well, I actually have multiple refrigerators in my first house, but you have one set of utility bills that you have to pay for, whereas multi-unit, there's several different. So if you were going to do a multi-unit, usually you rent out each unit to a separate family and they take on the utility bills. Whereas in co-living, you charge people one rent amount, and that rent amount is all inclusive. It doesn't include food, but it includes all of their utilities. So it includes water, electric, internet, gas. All of that is included in the one amount that they pay each month. And you still are going to make a lot more money on doing the co-living versus doing the single family home. Okay, so it's lower maintenance costs basically. And also on a multi-family, you usually can't get as good of a loan option as on just a regular single family home. A regular single family home that you turn into a co-living home, you can get a fixed interest rate for 30 years on a co-living property because it's a co-living property, but it's still just a residential house. It's just a single family home, but you're using it as a co-living property. So that's why you can get a better loan option on doing a co-living house. But like I said, you also don't have to buy the house. You don't have to buy it at all. You can rent a house and do this. All right, let's talk about the outlook on the business. Because whenever you get into a business, you want to make sure that it's something that's sustainable and something that you're going to do for the long haul. Well, for me anyway, I want to make sure that it's something that I can continue to do. And it's not just a trend that's going to go away and then my side hustle money goes away too. I want it to be something that I can keep for years to come. So let's talk about the outlook on the business. So first, the aging baby boomer population. So I'm going to read you some stats on this one. So there are 10,000 baby boomers who turn 65 every day. 10,000 of them turn 65 every day. And that trend is going to continue through the year 2030. So that means by the year 2030, 1 in 5 Americans are going to be 65 or older. Now, a lot of those people are going to need that supportive housing that I was just talking about, that assisted living where they need help. They need help with their bathing or help with medication management and things like that. But not all of them need that kind of help. And assisted living is expensive. Assisted living is like $5,000 a month. So if they don't need that kind of help, but they're on a fixed income, that's where these group homes come in. That's where the co-living comes in. They can just rent a room. They still have friends because they have other people in the house that they can be talking to, but they don't have to spend all of their money, all of their Social Security money on an apartment where they're going to be lonely anyway. They want to be in a place where they can have some friends. So that's one of the benefits of co-living is it's cheaper, and then they have the companionship of other people. Okay, that's number 2, housing affordability crisis. So we all know rent is high. Rent and home prices are really, really high. So shared housing is really the only affordable option for a lot of low income adults, even working professionals, even people who have jobs. Shared housing is their only option because it costs too much. It costs too much to have their own place. 55% of low income renters spend more than 30% of their income on housing. So shared living isn't just about us making money. It's also about solving that housing crisis, which is the reason a lot of the people who I coach go into this too. It's not just for money. Some people are totally motivated by the money, the income potential. That's fine. I'm probably more on that end. And then there's some people who do this because you're really helping society. You're helping with the affordable housing crisis. And so that's what I help out with too. My rooms, I have shared rooms, and they go as low as $650 a month for a bed in a shared room. And that includes all of their utilities. So it's really, you can't beat it. You cannot beat it. All right, let's go to number three, decline in private room supply. So new construction does not favor low income housing. New construction favors luxury and large single family homes. So there's not really the supply of private rooms for people. But let me tell you something interesting. I went to a pad split. You guys know pad split is like Airbnb. It's like Airbnb, but it's for co-living houses. And they actually are more for like the working professional, like the young working professional that wants to rent a room in a nice house in a nice neighborhood. So I went to one of their presentations recently, and they presented a stat that I was like, oh, I got to write this one down. They said that the housing supply that we need to solve the affordable housing crisis, it already exists in America. So there are 7.3 million affordable homes that could be created from only 1% of the current existing housing. They said there are already 137 million spare bedrooms in the United States. In US homes, we have 137 million spare bedrooms. Y'all probably have a spare bedroom in your house, but you don't want to rent out that room to a stranger. So that's why co-living is so important, because you could be the change. You could be that change in the world and set up a house where people can just rent out rooms or rent a shared room. A lot of people who are in these shelters, they have income. It's just not enough. It's not enough to get their own apartment. Or they have a felony conviction and they're being discriminated against, and so they can't get their own place. So it depends on what demographic you want to house. But I house people who are reentry. I house people who were formerly incarcerated and they can't get an apartment for whatever reason because of discrimination a lot of times, and so they end up renting a room from me, and that's fine because I'm not going to discriminate against them. So anyway, I would just went on a tangent. So decline in private room supply. All right, number four, social isolation and mental health. There are a lot of people, adults with mental health challenges, but they're not so far gone that they can't take care of their own activities of daily living. They can feed themselves, they can bathe themselves, they can take care of themselves pretty much, but they have maybe a slight mental issue where they're getting SSDI. Maybe they're getting Social Security disability insurance, and they need the companionship of other people around them to kind of keep them on track with living a good life. And those are also the types of people who I house too. As long as they can take care of their own activities of daily living, then I'm happy to house those people. And a lot of times, people, not just mental health challenges, but people who are in substance recovery, a lot of times they thrive in structured, shared environments. So that's another demographic that you could house in co-living. So group homes give them this community, not just a roof over their heads. A lot of times people who are suffering from addiction, they're recovering from addiction, they don't need to be all by themselves. They need to be in a group home environment so that they don't relapse. They don't need to be by themselves with their own thoughts and just circle that drain and go down it. They don't need that. They need to have a roommate. They need to have somebody who's going to say, "Hey, man, what's going on?" So anyway, that's the number four: social isolation and mental health. All right, let me just take a look and see if there's any comments. Hey, Regina. Okay, let's see. I don't see anything there, but let me just double check this. Okay, nothing there. All right, cool, cool, cool. If you have any questions or any comments, please throw them in the chat. Hey, Kenya. Kenya's here. Kenya's in the house. Kenya is one of my success stories. She opened her group home in Baltimore, and she filled up five of her nine beds after her open house event. And she's just, I talk about Kenya probably every day. I'll probably talk about Kenya every day for the rest of my life. All right, so let's go on to the next slide. All right, so why should you even listen to me? I am Katrina. I'm Katrina Robinson. I have three houses, group homes in San Antonio, Texas, but I live in Los Angeles, California. So because I have these group homes in San Antonio and I live in Los Angeles, people started asking me, like, how do you do that? How do you have these group homes in Texas when you live in LA? So I started helping people. I started answering questions to people. And then eventually I packaged up all my knowledge into a program. So now I have a coaching program. And that's what I do now. I used to work for the government, but now my whole life is my group homes and coaching people. And that's the another benefit of having group homes is the income is it's amazing. The income is amazing. If you want to go into being a real estate investor, this is the best way to invest in real estate is doing the co-living. That's my opinion. So now I just help people. I help people, aspiring group home owners and operators start and run their own group homes so that they can create a profitable and purpose driven business without getting overwhelmed by the process. Because, like I said, it is simple, but it's not easy. It is not easy. It's not easy at all. I just was talking to another client right before I went live here, and she was telling me some of the challenges that she had, but she overcame all of them. And I'm going to interview her as soon as she feels comfortable being on camera. I'm going to interview her. But she said that this is the best thing she's ever done in her life was opening her group home. And she's ready for her second one because she only has, as of this coming Saturday, she's only going to have one more vacancy. So as soon as she fills that vacancy, she's ready to open her second home. So she's totally changed her life and her husband's life. But anyway, enough about Miss Janice. You guys will hear about her later on. I'll do a YouTube video about her. So let me tell you a little bit more about me after I have some water. Oh, somebody commented something. Let me see. Oh, thanks, Kenya. Marcia, you were asking about city zoning. You know, zoning has nothing to do with the unlicensed group home. Thank God. So if you are doing a licensed facility, if you're doing a licensed assisted living, you do have to consider zoning. And the city has to come out and they have to inspect and make sure that everything is good with your house. And there might be a law that you cannot have two assisted living facilities that are within a certain number of feet of each other, that kind of thing. So that's why zoning is important for that. But when you're doing a group home, a co-living home, zoning does not matter because it's just a residential house. You're just a landlord of a residential house, but instead of renting out the entire house to a family or to a person, you're renting out the room or you're renting out a bed within a room. So, for example, if when I went to college, I went to Prairie View, A&M University. When I went to Prairie View, there's a little city that's outside of Prairie View, and there was a house that this older lady owned, and it was a 2-bedroom house. And me and a friend of mine rented out each room in the house. That did not have to be zoned. When you rent out a room to a college student, it doesn't have to be zoned. Zoning has nothing to do with it. A lot of people make the mistake of going to the city first and saying, hey, I want to open a group home. Can you tell me about zoning? If you say that, they're going to say, oh, you can't do that. It's got to be zoned, blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because they don't understand what you're doing. All you're doing is being a landlord. That's all you're doing. But instead of renting out the whole house, you're renting out the rooms. That's it. That's all we're doing here. I'm saying group home, but actually in Texas, they just passed a law they finally defined what a group home is. And by the definition of a group home, I actually don't even have group homes. I just have some shared living homes. I don't even have, because in their definition, is providing non-medical services. So if you're providing non-medical services to people, then like for example, if you're cooking for them and stuff, then that's a group home. I don't do any services at all. So I called my business group home on autopilot, my coaching, but it's really not even a group home according to the new law that was just passed in Texas with the definition of a group home. All I have is some houses that I rent out the rooms. That's all I have. I don't have a group home. Okay. Okay, so T Marie, rent is really high in LA. How much would you charge per person in LA? LA is crazy expensive. I don't have any group homes in Los Angeles. So I don't know how much they go for out here. All three of my group homes are in San Antonio, Texas. For the cheapest bed is 650. That's in a shared room. But I do have some that are higher. I do have rooms that are $1,000, like the master bedroom that's private in one of my third house. It's $1,000 a month. But there are people who do group homes here. There are actually, I interviewed a couple. Okay, you're welcome, Marcia. I interviewed a couple on my YouTube channel, Uncle Dave's Housing. And Felicia and Uncle Dave have several houses in Los Angeles, and they're all for formerly incarcerated men. And they charge $700 per bed. Now those are all shared. They're all shared. They charge $700. But I know, and that's kind of I think it's downtown LA. I think they're downtown. But if you go like in the outskirts or in a nicer area, you can definitely charge more per bed in the Los Angeles area. Okay, let me just see if there's another question here. Oh, thank you, Eddie. I appreciate that. Okay. I just totally went on a tangent. Where was I? Okay. Hopefully you guys can't hear my little dog. He's just going. Okay. About me. That's where I was. 5 years ago, I was looking for a side hustle. That's how I got into this. I was looking for a side hustle. I kind of already said this. I was interested in assisted living. That's what I wanted to do. Yes, real quick, I need to stop looking at the chat because I'm going to start going on tangents. I got a question. Is there any benefit to having a license versus not having one? Yes, big benefits. And I will show you in just a second. So if you have a license, which I do not teach, I have a license, probably need to renew it, but I do not teach the license. I only teach unlicensed. That's what I teach. But if you have a license, you can charge 5,000, depending on where you are in the country. It might be higher, it might be lower. You can charge 5,000 a month and up for a bed. So if you compare that to like 700 a month. So that's the difference between licensed and unlicensed. But when you have a license, now you're providing medication management, you're providing food, you're providing all these things that cost money. So you need to have a nurse on staff. Unless you're a nurse yourself, you can do that job of medication management. You need to have a type of like CNA, somebody who's going to bathe these people. So you have to have people on payroll. That's the thing. You have to have people on payroll. So when I was going to go into assisted living, I ended up, I was there. Like I was about to go into assisted living. I was 100% in. And then it was 2020. My sister passed away unexpectedly. And when my sister passed away, actually, my sister was sick. She had a stroke. So I actually got on a plane to go and check on my sister and her two kids. And while I was in the air, my sister passed away. So when I landed, I looked at the two girls, they're teenagers, and I was like, what y'all gonna do? And they said, we're gonna go home with you. So that's how I ended up with two kids. So during that time, I was in the option period for buying an existing assisted living facility. So during the option period, I pulled out and did not buy that assisted living. And I was so upset. Because I just didn't want the stress. I already had enough stress going on in my life with getting these two girls. I didn't have any kids before that. So I was like, I'm not going to do this. I don't want to end up on the news. I don't want people on payroll that I have to now worry about them. And I got these two girls that I have to learn how to mother. So I just pulled out of it. But a friend of mine said, why don't you do independent, unlicensed? And I said, no, unlicensed, that sounds illegal. I thought unlicensed equals illegal. I don't want any parts. Nope. But it turns out I was wrong. Unlicensed does not equal illegal. unlicensed means you do not need a license to do this type of house. So anyway, I did my research. I did a lot of research to make sure that I wasn't going to be arrested for doing this. And I ended up buying a fixer-upper house. So I bought the fixer-upper, and it was humongous. It was a huge house, and I put 15 beds in that house. So it was a 7 bedroom, but 2 of the rooms were like double sized. So anyway, put the beds in there, had an open house event, and I filled up the house. And after that, I was like, oh, I'm doing this. This is it. I actually, to renovate that house, I cashed out my retirement. People thought I was crazy. Sometimes you can't share stuff with people. People thought I was crazy. They were like, you never do that. You never cash out your retirement. But I was betting on me, and I knew that if this worked, when this worked, I knew that that was going to be my retirement. So I was charging $560 a month, which is so low. I didn't know what I was doing. I was charging $560 a month, and I had 15 beds. So if you do that math, I was charging 560 times 15. And then my rent, I'm totally going off script. This is not even for this slide. This is for another slide. But anyway, my rent, I mean my rent, my mortgage on that house was 2,000. So if you subtract that, subtract another 1,000 for the utilities, I was making over $5,000 a month on that one house. And that's not a job. That's just a side business. I didn't even have an operations manager at that time. It was just me looking at the Ring cameras on my phone and texting with one of the guys who was like the house snitch. He was the first one to move in. I told him, I didn't call him the snitch. I told him that he was the house supervisor. I told him he was the house supervisor. So he's the only one who had my cell number, and he would text me. They all had the business line, but they didn't have my cell. He would text me if something bad was happening or if I needed to intervene on something, and I would talk to the people through the camera. It was janky, but I was making $5,000 a month on the side of my full-time government job. And I was totally converted at that point. And I was like, I'm doing this again and again and again. And this is my life now. Group homes are my life. Okay, I think I had a comment that popped up. Oh, yeah, thank you, Eddie. Yeah, I'm just going all over the place. Okay. Yes, Regina, I have 2 beds per room. I do have some private rooms now. I have changed some of the rooms from shared to private. All right, let's go into, and it is, people always ask me, is it hard to find people who are willing to share a room? Yes, I say it is hard. It is hard, but it's doable. It is doable. Okay. Hey Kat. Hey Cat Cherry. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So Kat, yeah, I'm telling you, I'm telling the truth. Thank you, Kat, for supporting me. All right. People don't believe it though. That's why I'm so glad that people like Kat and Kenya are here in the room, because people don't believe me when I tell them this is for real. This is for real. I don't even have a day job anymore. Okay. It is. Did I tell you guys it's 87 degrees in Los Angeles? Hopefully you can't hear my little fan. I have a little Mariah Carey fan sitting here. Okay. Profit potential. Let's get to the profit potential. This is the important stuff right here. Okay. So on the left-hand side, we have where's Mike? There it is. On the left-hand side, we have our single family home. And this house, let's say this house, you rent it out for $2,000 a month. And I know things are different in different areas and all that kind of stuff. But let's say you're renting it out for $2,000 a month. And your mortgage on that house, let's assume it's mortgage. It doesn't have to be, it could be rent. Some people are like, no, I'm not going to buy, I'm only going to rent. Okay, that's fine. So your mortgage is $1,800. And this is true. This is a true story right here. This is a 4-bedroom house. $2,000 is what I was charging the people. And my mortgage was $1,800. Okay. So let's flip it. Let's change it into a co-living house. Okay. So 500 is super low, by the way. 500 per bed. That's low. But let's just for giggles, let's say it's 500 a month per bed. Because let's say it's in a bad neighborhood. Let's say it's in a bad neighborhood, so you can charge 500. But 500 is very low. No matter where you are in the country, that's pretty low. So 500, and if you have 500, 500, 500, because you're putting two beds in each room. Remember, two beds in each room. So 500 times 8 is 4,000. Okay. So 4,000, subtract the 1,800 for the mortgage on the house. So if you compare 200 to 2,200, what is that? That's what I called this webinar. Where's my cursor? That's why I called this webinar 10x. That's 10 times as much. 200 versus 2,000 is 10 times as much money. So that's what I mean by you could make 10 times as much money if you go co-living. Now, when you go co-living, you do have to worry about other things. You have to worry about like people getting along and things like that. Yes, there's things you have to worry about, but look how much more money you're making. Now, I did say that you would cover utilities, but we're going to get to that in a second. So let's go to more realistic. Okay. So let's say you're charging $600 per month per bed. So $600 times 8 beds. And hopefully you guys have calculators out. That's my favorite app on my phone is my calculator. So whenever somebody starts talking about their money, I'm like, well, wait, let me see how much is that? So 8 beds times 600, that's 4,800. Okay. Because remember that's shared bedrooms in a 4-bedroom house. Okay. So 4,800 minus 1,800 for the mortgage. That leaves you 3,000. That's 3,000. So that's even more than 10x. That's more. Are you guys tracking? You guys are seeing this, right? You're seeing what I'm talking about. Okay, now let's go to you're charging 650. Okay, so 650 times 8 beds, that's 5,200. Minus that 1,800 for your mortgage, that's 3,400. So that's way more than 10x. So let's backtrack. I did say you're covering utilities, right? So that's electric, gas, water, internet. So even if you deduct the cost of utilities, you are still bringing in 10 times the amount because so there's 3,400 here, 3,400. Where's my cursor? 3,400. Okay, subtract $1,000 and you're still making 10 times as much money as if you had a single family home. You see what I mean? So like I said, when I opened that first house, it had 15 beds. I started out charging $560 per month per bed. So 15 times 560 is 8,400. My mortgage was $2,000. So deduct another $1,000 for utilities and I'm profiting $5,400. That's on one property. That's on one house. Now, a lot of people are not going to start out with a 7-bedroom house. I understand that. I always tell my coaching clients to get at least a 4-bedroom, get at least a 4-bedroom house. Uh-oh, what is that? Okay, at least a 4-bedroom house and you will make money. I like to tell my coaching clients to shoot for making at least $2,000 per house profit. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I don't want the headache of dealing with that many people's issues. And I hear you, I understand. So I outsource my headache. I hired an operations manager. And you can do that. You can hire an operations manager. And I actually teach you in my coaching program what to look for in an operations manager, what the duties will be for that operations manager, how to pay him, all of that. I teach all of that to you in my one-on-one coaching program, which Kenya attended. She took that. Hopefully Janice made it. I don't know if Janice is in the room, but Janice is another one of my clients, my coaching clients. And also, I stopped at this $650, but you could go up. It depends on where you are. I have a friend of mine who has a co-living house in San Antonio, and she charges, I think it's $900 in a shared room. So it just depends. Her house is very nice. It depends on where you are in the country and how you market. And also, I foresee a lot of working class people going into co-living just because of the writing on the wall. I won't get into politics, but people are tired of paying all of their money for a place to live. So I see working class people living in these shared living types of situations, which in Europe they already do, they've been doing this, where you just rent a room in a house and you share the common areas. It's very common there. So I see that happening here in the US. And if you're renting to a professional, you could probably charge $1,000 for a private room, or even more, maybe 1,200, maybe 1,300 for a private room. I was talking to one of my clients who's in Atlanta, and he was saying that a private room is about 1,200, 13, I think it was 1,200. Was there 12 or 1,300 for a private room in his area of the Atlanta area? So it just depends on where you are and how you market your house. Okay, so let's talk about some soft stuff, some soft skills. Let me just double check the chat. Where are we at? Okay, good. Nothing in the chat. Hopefully I'm not missing the Q&A. I see on the Zoom, I see the chat, but not the Q&A. Okay, good. There it is. It says no open questions. All right, cool. So you're here for a reason. You're on this call for a reason. So I want you to think about, what is your why? Like, why are you on this call? Why are you so interested in doing co-living? Do you want to do it because you want to help out with the affordable housing crisis? Is it to have a little extra income? Think about what an extra $2,000 a month would do for you and your family. Maybe you have a child that you need to put through college, or maybe you just want a new car. Like, what is your why? And there's no shade on whatever why you have. I wanted more money, and I never liked a 9 to 5. Even though I was in the military before, I worked for the government. I've always had a job. I never liked it. That was just my truth. I never liked it. I never wanted a job. I wanted to work for myself and make my own hours. So what is your why? Okay, I got a great question here. What is the square footage for a 4 bedroom that you would recommend? So I actually have a calculation, which is not in front of me right now, of like how many square feet you would want per person in a house. And I don't have it in front of me, but I do have it in my coaching program. But I can get that to you. But there's a calculation that I use. If you have this many square feet, you should be able to fit this many people in the co-living house. But that is more for people who are going to buy a house and do some minor renovations, because in that calculation, we're calculating all of the square feet in the house. And so if you have, for example, a kitchen with a breakfast nook and you have a formal dining room, you're going to turn that formal dining room into another room or two. If you have a garage, you're going to turn that into some rooms. So that's what that calculation is for. But as far as like if you're going to rent a house or if you're not going to do renovations, then it just depends on the size of the room. If you Most rooms can fit 2 beds. If you watch the walkthrough I did of my first house, you will see that I have 2 rooms that are humongous. They have 4 beds in them. Actually, one of the rooms that has the 4 beds in it, I ended up changing it to a 2 bed. But the other room that has 4 beds, it still has 4 beds, and it's humongous. So it just depends on the size of the room. If you can fit 2 beds in there comfortably with a nightstand and a lamp, you're good to go. You're good to go. Hopefully that answered your question. If not, please send me an email. I promise you I'll answer. I always do. Okay, let me just real quick throw in the chat my email so you guys can send me an email at any time. And I'm going to send it in there too. Oh, did I misspell it? No, I didn't. Okay. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, by the way. I appreciate it. Okay, let's get back to this. So your why. Think about what your why is. If you have some paper, go ahead and write it down. Like, what is your why? Do you want financial security? Do you want to make a difference? Like I said, with the affordable housing crisis, maybe you just want to enjoy your work. And it really is enjoyable. Once you start getting these people, they all have stories. Everybody has a different story, and you really grow an affinity towards the people that you're housing. So what is your why? Also, take a minute and think about the vision that you have for your life. Like, where do you see your life in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? Maybe you're already a real estate investor, but you want to maximize your ROI, your return on investment on the properties that you have. So think about that. And this is something we go through in my coaching program too. In module 1, we talk a lot about your why, like how much money do you want to make in your business, in your group home business? How much money do you want to make just in general? Like, what is your dream life number? We talk about all those things because I want to help you get there. All righty. So here is what you came for. This is my proven system. This is my system, my group home on autopilot system to help you to open and operate a profitable group home. And how do I know this works? I know it because I've used this exact model to open all 3 of my group homes. I've taught several people how to open their group homes. And I'm about to show you on this next slide, I'm going to show you my client, Kenya, her open house event. It's a little video. She signed the lease on her property during week 3 of my coaching program. It is a 6-week coaching program. Every step here that you see, we spend a week on those steps, and I give you a very comprehensive workbook that has everything you need, scripts, templates, everything you need. And we go through each one of these modules together. And there's also videos. So there's video lessons, multiple lessons per module in my coaching program. So anyway, I'm going to show you on the next slide, Kenya, and she signed the lease on her property during week 3. And then she had her open house during week 6 of my coaching program. And she filled 5 of her 9 beds. And she's actually on, not in the Zoom, but she's on the YouTube. She's in the chat. If you want to ask her if this is for real or not, she's there in the chat if she's still there. So the next slide, it is a little video. For some reason, the sound doesn't come through when I play it for y'all, but it's going to blast in my ears. So let me click on this. Oh, wait. I got somebody in the chat. Somebody in the chat. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Heather. Okay, so doop. All right. So I know that on the YouTube there is a little lag. And like I said, Kenya does not own that house. She doesn't own that house. That's a rental, but she's still making money. And you can do it too. All right, so let's go to the next slide, mindset. So the first step, if you're taking notes, this is the time to take the notes. So the first step in opening your group home, by the way, my goal is for the end of this masterclass, you guys to be able to do this on your own. You can open your group home on your own. I keep doing this because my little Mariah Carey fan is blowing my hair. Anyway, I want you guys to be able to open your group home on your own by the end of this masterclass. So that's why you can take notes on the steps. But if you want to go faster and you want to pay for mentorship versus mistakes, then I will invite you to sign up for my coaching program. So the first step is to get your mind right. You need positivity. You need determination. You need a CEO mindset, which is strategic, decisive, and growth oriented. It's about using a calendar, outsourcing the things that you don't need to be doing, and just being obsessed with your win, whatever your win is, and thinking, who can do that for me? Instead of like, how can I do this? It's who can do that for me? It's about systems, not reinventing the wheel. With every task that I do, I ask myself, especially if it's something I never want to do again, I say, how can I never do that again? How can I put a system in place so that I can automate this or pay somebody else to do this? That's what number 1 is about. That's what the first module is all about. All right. And then we get into the business. This is setting up the actual business. So doing your market research. Now, when you're doing market research, you're going to do market research on two different things. Number one, I want you to do market research on the cost of properties in the area. Meaning, if you're going to buy, how much is it going to cost to buy a property that is at least 4 bedrooms? And then if you're going to rent, the same thing. How much are 4 bedroom rentals going for? 4 or more bedroom rentals going for in the area that you've chosen. So that's the first part of market research. The second part of market research is how much is a bed going for in the area where you want to open your group home. So first is the cost of the actual property, and then is the cost of a bed. So you need to be looking at places like Craigslist, Roomies. There's all kinds of roommate finder apps. There's one called Spare Room. You just go Google find a room for rent, Google that and see all the different places that come up, and then click around and see how much is a bed going for in your chosen area. How much is a private room and a semi-private? Semi-private means that there's more than one bed in that room. So a private room and a semi-private, find out how much those cost, and that's your market research. So now you know how much it's going to cost to get the property, and you know how much you're going to be able to charge per bed in your area. Okay, now the legal stuff. I think somebody just put a question in the chat. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right. The legal. So you don't have to set up an LLC. You do not have to, because like I said before, you're just a landlord. You don't have to set up the legal stuff because you're essentially just a landlord. But when you get an LLC, now you're legit. And I want you to be legit, because now when you set up a business, an actual business and an LLC, now you can get those business tax breaks. I am not an accountant. All I do is share what I've done. And that's basically what my coaching program is I share with you what I've done. So anyway, you don't have to go legit, but I want you to. And I share with you what business tax breaks I take advantage of by having an LLC. And you can get a lawyer to do that for you. There's a company, LegalZoom. I've used LegalZoom before. You could use them. There's another one that I see commercials for all the time on YouTube, and it's called Taylor Brands. I've never used them before, but I heard that they're good. So you could use them, but you can just get a lawyer to set up your LLC for you. And that's paying for a shortcut. So when I teach you each one of my modules, I also teach you this is how you do it yourself, and this is how you pay for a shortcut. So that's paying for a shortcut. And remember, the biggest tax breaks that there are for people are not for employees. The biggest tax breaks are for business owners, especially now in this administration. The biggest tax breaks are for business owners. So that's why you want to go legit, so that you can take advantage, because now you have a business. So when you set up your business the right way, you can write off equipment, your phone, your laptop, your home office, even business travel. When I travel from Los Angeles to San Antonio, Texas to look at my group homes and tour them and all that kind of stuff, that's a tax break. That whole trip is a deduction from the Lyft ride to the airport, the flight, everything is a deduction. The rental car, the hotel room. Usually I stay at my parents' house, but the hotel room, all of that is a tax deduction. And so you can talk to your accountant about that. You can even deduct expenses that you're already paying for. Like, for example, I need internet to run my business because I use a tenant management system, which I'll go into in a second. I use a tenant management system, and I also have to do research. I have to go online. So I have a home office, and I have my internet that I need for my business. So my internet is a tax deduction. I was going to have internet anyway, whether I had the business or not. I was going to pay for internet, but because I have a business, my internet bill is a tax deduction. So there's so many benefits to having a business, and I want you to take advantage of all of them. You can also qualify for 100% depreciation on certain things like computers and vehicles. Now, like I said, I'm not an accountant, but you can do your own research on that. If I lived in San Antonio and I was using the car to go and visit my properties and stuff, then that whole car could be a tax deduction. But because I live in Los Angeles and my houses are in San Antonio, I don't take advantage of that tax deduction. So anyway, you can have a lot. I'm a nerd, so I have a lot of fun looking up different tax codes and tax deductions that I can take advantage of because I have a business. So that's something that you could do too once you have a business. So that is money that's right back in your pocket, but only if you know how to take advantage of it. So that's why I want you to go legit. And then the banking, setting up your business bank account, I help you with that too. All right. So step three is getting the house. I get a lot of questions on what kind of house is good for this. So, like I said, at least 4 bedrooms. If you own the house, then you can put up walls. You can put up a wall and make another bedroom. So every space that you have, just ask yourself, like, can I put up a wall here and make another bedroom? I also recommend no carpet, no pool. A newer house is good, like 1970s or newer, or one that's been renovated. It doesn't have to be 1970s or newer, but as long as it doesn't have any problems, like you want it to be a house that has a decent roof and decent plumbing and a nice enough neighborhood, not an A plus level neighborhood. We're not talking about that. You want it to be in a C level neighborhood, a place where everybody goes to work and minds their own business. You don't want a place where everybody is at home all day long and they're looking out their window at what you're doing. And she has more than 3 unrelated people going in and out of her house, and I don't feel comfortable with that. You don't want that kind of neighborhood. You want a C level neighborhood. Okay. So that's my recommendation. So C level, at least 4 bedrooms, no carpet, no pool. And depending on the demographic of the people that you house, like say you're housing professionals, working professionals, then you might need to have parking for multiple cars. So if you own the house, make sure that there's enough space for you to lay like a concrete pad for multiple cars to park, or there's street parking, make sure that's legal. But my residents don't have cars. I think of all the residents that I have like 23 residents. 2 have cars of all the residents I have because of the demographic of people who I house. So I make sure, and you should too, make sure that your house is close to public transportation. A lot of people who rent a room use public transportation because they're saving money for whatever reason. They're saving money. So they need to be able to catch the bus or the train. Interesting layouts are good too. So you know how nowadays everybody's like, "Oh, I want an open layout." That's not a good thing for a group home. You want the choppy layout. You want the interesting layout so that people can be like tucked away and have their privacy. So interesting layouts are good. Split levels are good. So the more walls, the better. The more bathrooms, the better. And you don't want to get a house that's in a homeowners association. So no HOA. You've probably heard of NIMBY, which is not in my backyard. NIMBY, you don't want to deal with that. There's when you are in like a A plus neighborhood or a neighborhood that has a homeowners association, that's when people start getting nosy. They start getting in your business. Now, if you, and by the way, it's not illegal, like I said. So there are places, there are people who have group homes in homeowners associations, and there are people who have gone to court and won against the homeowners association. But I just don't want you to have that headache. So that's why I say just don't get a place in an HOA. Now, one of my houses is actually in an HOA, but they don't give me any problems. But I recommend that you just stay away from HOAs. Now, the reason why you would win against the HOA is because group homes and co-living, most of the time, the people that you're housing are one of the protected classes of people. And what I mean by protected class of people is Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 is the Fair Housing Act. In the Fair Housing Act, there are different types of people who are covered, like age, gender. There's like a medical one, and in that medical one, it covers addiction. So any of these people are protected classes. And so the HOA cannot discriminate against, familial status is another one. So the HOA can't say you have 3 unrelated people under one roof and we don't like that. Well, they might have that in their bylaws that they don't allow that, but that's against the law. And so they will lose in court. But I just don't want you to have to deal with it. But if you do have to deal with it, I do cover that also in my program. I'm going to actually add, I have one more thing I need to add to my coaching slides. And by the way, my coaching evolves. My coach, when I started coaching, it's just, this is what Katrina did. This I'm going to share with you and you take it. But now as people ask me things, and as I learn more, I add to the workbook all the time. I add to the coaching, I add modules all the time. So it evolves. And once you have access to my coaching and my course, you have lifetime access to my course. So you get all the iterations. So anyway, you can do this business in a rental. Going back to the house, you can do this business in a rental. You do not have to buy the house. So to get the house, you're going to contact landlords. In my coaching program, I give you the script. I give you a script to use to contact landlords to find a willing landlord who will rent their house to you. And I recommend getting a long-term lease. So get a lease that's like 2 years, 3 years, because what you don't want is to get into the house. Let's say you get into the house and it's great. They're only charging you $1,800 a month. That's fantastic. So you get into the house, they're charging you $1,800 a month, and you're filling these beds, you're making a ton of money. And then the landlord gets jealous. The landlord finds out what you're doing and says, oh, you're making this much money. Now next year, I'm going to charge you $3,000 a month. Now, most of the time, that's not legal. Most places have a cap on how much they can raise your rent. But you don't want that. You want to get locked into a certain amount for 2 years, 3 years. And also, after a year of having these people in the house, you don't want to now have to go and find another property. So get into a long-term lease. When you're contacting landlords, you can also contact people who have houses that are for sale. You want to look for sale by owner, FSBO, for sale by owner. People who have houses that are for sale by owner that have been sitting on the market for a long time, like for 90 days, those people are also willing to do something creative like a group home. So you can use that same script that I give you in my course. You can use that to reach out to people who have houses that are for sale by owner, and you can get into a house that way too. All right, so if you're buying the house, you can finance the house in multiple ways. You can get a conventional bank loan. So if it's not your primary, house, then you probably need to put down 20%. So be prepared for that. You need to put down 20% if it's not your primary residence. If it is your primary, usually you only have to put down 3%. And if you're a veteran like I am, you put down 0%. So what you could do is get yourself into a house as your primary residence and you live in one of the rooms and then you rent out the other ones. And let's say I did this. Let's say I did this. I'm a veteran. Let's say I live in San Antonio. I'm gonna get me a house. I'm gonna get me a primary residence house. I live in the house. I live in one of the rooms and then I rent out the other rooms. That's called house hacking. Okay. So I'm renting out the other rooms. And then I live in that house, let's say a year, and then I refinance out of that house. I'm really going on a tangent today. Refinance out of that house, out of the VA loan into a conventional loan. Move myself out of that house. Move into another house using my VA loan that has now been freed up. Move into that next house. Live in that house for a year. Rent out those rooms. Live in that house for a year. Refinance out of that VA loan into a conventional loan. Now I freed up my conventional loan and use that, my VA, I freed up my VA, use that VA loan to buy the third house. So there are ways that you can get a house. Okay, let's go back to my notes now. Did somebody put something in the chat? Let me see. Okay, no. Okay, good. So there are a lot of ways. Like I said, you can use a DSCR loan, which is a debt service coverage ratio loan. And that's basically where the business or the house's cash flow, the property's cash flow is taken into consideration on whether or not you can afford that loan. So what they do is you basically prove that you're going to be making this much money, X amount of money on this house because you rent it out by the room. And so then the bank gives you a loan on that house because they know you're good for it. That's a DSCR loan. And I already went over VA loans. Okay, you could also use OPM. You could use other people's money. You could use creative financing, which is seller financing. You could also do a rent to own situation. You could do a partnership. You bring the knowledge and the other person brings the money. So there are a lot of ways for you to buy a property and do this type of business. Okay, marketing. So this is the most important step. Step 4 is marketing. So how you have to fill the beds. You have to fill the beds or else you don't have a business. So how do you find those people? How do you find the right residents? You can I give you in my coaching program, I give you 101 ways to fill your beds, but you can use all the roommate apps that are out there and list your house on those. But my favorite way is to connect with caseworkers and social workers. Caseworkers and social workers know of people who need housing. They always know of people who need housing. So I like to email. I first I pay for a list. I pay for a list of caseworkers and social workers. I also teach you in my program how to find them on your own. And then I start emailing them. I email them every month and let them know, hey, I exist. You just need to stay top of mind. And you don't have to take everybody. You don't. I do general population. You don't have to do general population. You could do just veterans. I don't like to niche down in the beginning. I like to cast a wide net. Okay, let's see. So, you could also use placement agents. Placement agents are people that you pay them to fill your beds for you. So that's another way. I think I just got another question. Out the rest of the house. Okay, someone said, I'm a veteran. I will house hack and rent out the rest of the house to you or someone you recommend. All right, let's talk. Let's talk. You got my email address. Let's talk. Awesome. Okay, let's see. So, placement agents, caseworkers, social workers, I have a whole list of keywords that I give you in my coaching program on who to market to. I also teach you about your different marketing materials, your business cards, your flyers, a website. There are all kinds of marketing materials that you can. You don't have to, by the way. You don't have to do any of these things. Janice, who I was just in a coaching call with, she hasn't done any of these things. She did a flyer. She did a flyer and she did do an open house. But other than that, she hasn't done any of the other things, but she's filled her beds. She only has one vacancy now. So you don't have to do any of these. But my point is I give you a whole lot of ways for you to fill your beds so that you will fill your beds. You list on all available platforms. Okay. So do you think you could find 8 people? Do you think this is a question for to wake you guys up and get you back in the chat room? Unless, did my YouTube stop? I wonder if my YouTube stopped. No, it's there. Okay, get you guys back motivated and talking to me. Okay, do you think? Put it in the chat. Do you think you could find 8 people in your chosen city who are willing to rent a bed in the house? 8 people in your whole city, do you think you can find that are willing? I know there's a delay on the YouTube, so I'm gonna ask the Zoom people, do you think you can find? Yeah, you can. You can. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. The answer is not no. I have had somebody say no before, and I was like, okay, you know what? If you don't think you can, then you're not going to. But you will find 8 people. And you don't have to do all shared rooms either. You could do private rooms if you want. So let's say 4 people. 4 people. You could find 4 people. Heather knows. Heather used to refer people to me. Heather's in the chat on the webinar, on the Zoom, I mean. Okay, so we have covered, oops, didn't mean to go that far. We have covered 4 of the 6 steps. We have covered 4 of the 6 steps. And now it is time for me to present to you my coaching program. Before I go on, let me just double check and make sure that I've covered this. So before we move on, is it okay? Is it okay with you if I take a few minutes to share for the people who are interested? It's not going to be for everybody, but it's going to be for somebody. It's not going to be for everybody. I'll share with you the coaching program that I have, including the pricing. I used to not share the pricing, and people would be in the chat like, well, did I miss it? Did she say the pricing? All right, I'm gonna need a throat lozenge because I feel it coming. I feel it coming back. I feel it coming. I just got my voice back a few days ago, a week ago, actually, a week ago today. I just got my voice back. All right. Thank you. Thank you all for your participation. Now I don't feel so lonely. Okay, like I said, this may not be for everybody, but it might be perfect for somebody who's in this room. So all of this would be easier if you had a mentor. This would be all be easy. Usually I ask the question, but I'm gonna answer my own question. Wouldn't all of this be easier if you had a mentor? Checklists, templates, somebody to hold you accountable, somebody who's been there, done that, and still doing it. That's me. It would benefit you to have a customized checklist with exactly how you can open your profitable group home in only 6 weeks. So I want you to imagine, like close your eyes and imagine 6 weeks from now. 6 weeks from now, you have a property business that on the side of whatever you do in your day job, that profits you an extra $2,000 per month for you and your family. An extra 2,000. What would you do with it? What would you do if you had an extra $2,000 a month for the rest of your life or for the rest of however long you want to have a group home? And not only does that business bring you $2,000 a month in your pocket, it also benefits society. It helps people. So it changes lives. It changes your life and other people's lives. And maybe you'll have more time and energy for the things that you want to focus on. So my coaching program is called Group Home on Autopilot Startup Intensive, and it is designed to change your life and to change other people's lives too. And this slide shows you what you get. You get the startup workbook with all the templates and checklists and scripts, personalized accountability, feedback, strategy, direct access to somebody who's launched multiple group homes. And I also give you a customized master to-do list. I give you your action items for every week for the 6 weeks built around your timeline and your goals. And you also get lifetime access, like I said, to the Group Home on Autopilot course. Okay, so let's go to the next. Who is it for? Let me get this out of my way. Hold on, moving stuff around. Hold on. Okay. Who is my program for? So maybe you want to start investing in real estate, but you just don't know how, or you don't know which way you want to go with real estate. Or maybe you want to become a social engineer. Maybe you want to, or engineer. Girl, stop trying to read. Maybe you want to become a social entrepreneur. I need my glasses. You want to do good for people. You want, like I said, you want to help out with that affordable housing crisis. Maybe that's you. Or maybe you already have a real estate business, but you're making that little $200 a month, which most real estate professionals do make. They make about $200 per month on each property. And that's a good return on investment, by the way, in real estate. $200 a month is great. But it's nothing like having a co-living house. If you have a co-living house, you're making at least $2,000 a month. So that's who my program is for. All right, let's go to these false beliefs. I need to give you guys the link too. I'm going to do that in a second. So let's do some myth busting on here. So the first one, I need to own a house to have a group home. No, you don't. I already showed you Kenya. Kenya doesn't own that house. Kenya rents that house and she makes good money on that house. There's a lot of people. I was just interviewed on this YouTube channel. The guy has a podcast, Terrence Garcia. He has 8 group homes in Florida. He doesn't own any of them, but he has 8 of them. I'm happy with my little 3, but the man has 8. So you can do this without owning a house for sure, 100%. Homeless people don't have income. Okay, so that definitely, I already went over that false belief. So many homeless people receive Social Security or SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance. So they have money, it's just not enough to get their own place. Or maybe they receive VA money. Sometimes they're veterans and they get money from the VA, but it's just not enough money to get their own place. And also a lot of working professionals, just working class people, who are not on any kind of government assistance, a lot of them are also considering co-living. So it's not just homeless people, but a lot of homeless people do have income, by the way. And a lot of people are one paycheck away from being homeless anyway. Like let's be real. Let's see. So yeah, like I said, my oh, I put my phone on do not disturb and this call came through. Okay. So my people, most of my people are on Social Security, but I do have a lot of people that work jobs too. Okay, running a group home will be a full-time job. No, it won't be a full-time job with the way I teach it. With the way I teach it, we focus on efficiencies. We focus on how to work on the business and not in the business. I am all about efficiencies and I'm a productivity nerd. So I teach you how to like what you need to do weekly, what your weekly actions are, what your monthly actions are, what your quarterly actions are, so that this business does not take up all your time. That's my goal. I do not want this business to take up all your time. I want this to be the best side hustle ever. And then I won't be able to fill the beds. Yes, you will. If you put in the work, you will fill the beds because it's just numbers. It's a numbers game. If you only have 8 beds to fill, then you just got to market. And I give you 101 different ways to market to fill your beds. So I busted all the myths. Okay. Client success stories. I just got off the phone with Janice, like I said, and Kenya is here in the YouTube room if she's still here. So here's some quotes from my people that I have coached. Let's talk a little bit about accountability. So when I first started my business, oh, I keep getting little pings. Okay. When I first started my business, Roundtable Living, that's the name of my group homes, it's Roundtable Living. I had a notebook full of plans like property ideas, furniture budgets, even like what color towels I wanted, but I didn't have momentum. I didn't have the momentum that I needed. So every week I'd be like, next Monday, I'm going to start calling caseworkers. But it's so hard in the beginning to just get on the phone. Like they say the best way to fill beds is smiling and dialing, like just get on the phone. But I couldn't do it. Even though I've been to Iraq, I've been in the military before, I just couldn't get on the phone to these caseworkers. I was so scared. So finally I told a trusted friend, like, hey, I need you to hold me to it. And so my friend held me to it. And then by that, so that was like a Monday. So by Wednesday, I had sent out messages, I had replies, I had a walkthrough scheduled because I wasn't just accountable to myself anymore. I was accountable to somebody else. Now, you should be accountable to yourself, but a lot of us, we need somebody else. And that's what I could be for you. I can be your accountability partner because I will hound you. I will say, like, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? And you're not going to want to meet with me unless you did your homework. So that's another benefit of doing my coaching program is I do hold you accountable. So if you've been that person who's like in YouTube University, you've been watching all the trainings, you've been taking notes, and you're not taking action, I want you to find your accountability partner, whether it's me or it's somebody else. Just, it doesn't have to be fancy. Like just find yourself an accountability partner, somebody who's going to ask you, did you do what you said you were going to do? That's what you need because your group home is not going to open itself. Like you have to have that momentum. And momentum loves company. So you need an accountability partner. Okay, I'm done preaching at you guys about accountability. Okay, here's the cost. Ta-da! Ta-da! Here's the cost of my coaching program. I'm teaching you, by the way, how to profit $2,000 a month for the rest of your life. So if I'm telling you how to make $2,000 for the rest of your life, a month, by the way, a month, $2,000 a month for the rest of your life, how much would that be worth to you? It would be worth a lot more than $4,500. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that much. It would be worth more than $4,500. So this is what your investment is. So you do get 6 one-on-one coaching calls with me. You get all the scripts, documents, templates, and you get lifetime access to all the training modules, which are video modules. Remember that implementation requires that you pay. So you can either pay for mentorship or you can pay for mistakes. You choose which one. You choose your hard. So people say knowledge is what? People say knowledge is power. But really it's knowledge plus action. It's an equation. It's knowledge plus action equals power. I used to think if I just had the knowledge that I could do it, but after stumbling for a while, I did pay for a mentor. I paid for a coach, and that was a great idea. Except the coach who I paid had never opened a group home before. So you should ask who. You got to ask who, not how. Like you got to make sure that you're paying the right person. So I was paying for a coach, but he had never opened a group home before. So if you want to open a group home, get yourself a group home coach. That's what I'm saying. Ask yourself who can help me do this. I got a question. Does it all have to be paid at once? No, I'm so glad you asked that question. It does not have to be all paid at once. I do have a payment plan. So I have a payment plan that, and actually, let me just go to the next slide. Okay. Okay, so my payment plan is you can either do 2 payments of $2,399 or you can pay in full of $4,500. Now the $2,399 you pay it, and then a month later you pay $2,399. But what I don't have on this slide is there's a third option. If you choose to do the pay in full, the $4,500, when you click on that, start now. By the way, let me put the link. I am tripping. Let me click the link. Hold on. Where'd I put the link? Girl. I thought I had the link in here so I could just paste it. Okay, let me hold on 1 second. Promise you I'm gonna get you this link. When you go to check out, I'm glad you guys are just hanging with me, even though this is so casual. When you go to check out and you click on the pay in full, it's going to give you another option. It's going to give you an option for Klarna, which is kind of like Afterpay. Have you guys heard of Afterpay? You know, where you can like set it up in multiple payments. So the payment plan that I have where you pay $23.99, then you pay a month later $23.99, that's not the only payment plan. You could set up your own payment plan with Klarna. Klarna has where they have a bunch of different options where you could pay, like, I forgot what I saw on there. It's like 200 something a month or something. Anyway, there's a lot of different payment plans with Klarna. So you could do that. Let me throw this in the chat here. Okay, I just put in the chat the link to go to the checkout in case you're interested. And on that page, it'll also say, book a call with me. If you want to book a private call with me first to talk about it, that's fine too. So the two options I offer is the $4,500 paid in full or the $23.99. And then a month later, you pay $23.99. But when you click on the pay in full, there's another option that's Klarna, 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 which I had never heard of before, but it's like Afterpay, where you click on it and it comes up with all these different options depending on what you qualify for, and you can choose what option you want. So you could still get the benefit of that savings of $4,500, which is $298 less than if you do that $23.99 payment plan. So you can still get that benefit, but just split it up however you want to split it up, which is between you and Klarna. So that's an option. All right. So I already talked about the coach I had paid who had never opened a group home before. No shade. It was still good coaching, but he had never opened a group home before. So you have to make sure. I like this one. There's this lady who teaches public speaking. Her name's Eileen Wilder. She always has these good sayings. She always says, you got to go pro. You got to go pro. Pros ask who, not how. And I should have been like, well, who is the best person to teach me how to do a group home? Not just, I need a coach. And execution beats knowledge every day of the week. So if somebody can help you to execute, then that's what you need. So this is actually what's coming in 2026, not to scare y'all, but so right now, all I offer is these things, these side right here, the 6 weekly calls, the lifetime access to the modules, and the scripts and documents and templates. But I've been asked several times about additional mentorship. So you're going to get next year, I'm going to launch this where you're going to get the done for you website, the 100 verified leads, and the 90 days of mentorship. And the price is going to be $9,900. So I did want to show this just to show that now is really the time to hop on and to go ahead and get this started in 2025, because I am going to change up the offer a little bit next year. Okay, so if I get, let's play a game, the ROI game. Would you give me $10? Would you give me $10 if I was giving you back $100? Put a yes in the chat. If I was going to give you $100, but I need you to give me 10 now, would you go for that? Would you give me $10 if I was giving you back 100? Put a yes in the chat. The gain would be $90. You would get a $90 gain on that money. That's a 900% ROI. That's a 900% return on investment. So yeah, of course you would. Oh, somebody's chatting with me. Okay, yes, thank you. Yes. Looks like YouTube is catching up with us. So now, would you give me $10,000 if I was going to give you back $1 million? Yes or yes. That's what Tony Robbins said. Yes or yes. That's a 9,900% return on investment. So of course you would, right? You give me 10,000 if I was going to give you back $1 million. You would take that deal. Now, which one's the better deal? Which one is the better deal? You give me $10, I give you 100, or you give me 10,000, I give you $1 million. Which one's the better deal? The second one, right? The second one is the better deal. Because if you're going to invest 10,000 and get back $1 million, that's what I say, 9,900% ROI. Is it still the better deal? Is it still the better deal if you have to borrow the $10,000? Is it still the better deal? Yes, it is still the better deal, even if you have to borrow it. Is it still the better deal if you have to put it on a credit card? The 10,000. It is still the better deal. Even if you have to get the money from a loan shark, it is still the better deal because you're getting that infinite return on investment. That's why it's the better deal. And the purpose of that game was just, that's the game that millionaires play. That's the game that people who have money, that's the game that they play. Rich people ask, what is the return? They always ask, what is the return? Broke people ask the price. Have you noticed that broke people know the price of everything? They know how much bread costs. Rich people don't know the price. They know the value, though. Broke people don't know the value, but they know the price. So when you focus on the payout, you stay broke. But when you focus on the payoff, that's when you get rich. When you focus on the payoff, that's when you get rich. So my whole point in that little anecdote was, think about what your goal is in life. Think about what you want to do. Do you want to have a group home? If you want to have a group home and you're interested in getting the coaching, it's $4,500 this year. It's $4,500. But like I showed you, you will make $2,000 a month forever on that one home. That's one. But with what I teach you, it's scalable. So you're going to open a second and a third and a fourth if you want to. You can take this as big as you want to. So 4,500, you will make that money back within a couple of months when you open your group home. All right. I do have a question in the chat, so I'm going to look at that before I move on to the next slide. What should my credit look like? to start? What is the startup cost besides a home example? Okay, great question. Great. Thank you, Heather. So, credit, as far as if you want to buy a property, you need to have good credit. That's a whole nother thing of buying a house. That's a whole nother thing. So you do need to have good credit to buy a house. But if you want to rent the house, your credit doesn't have to be that great. It just depends on who the landlord is, if they're going to do background check. Now, a lot of times what I found with my coaching clients is if you start an LLC for this business, and you go and you try to rent a house under that LLC is brand new. So that LLC doesn't have any credit. So when the landlord runs the EIN number, that's the employee identification number. When he or she runs the EIN number, they're going to see that that business has no credit. So they're going to want to rent the house to you personally, not to the business. If you already have an existing LLC, then you could use that and put the rental agreement into your business's name because your business is in good standing. But if you don't have any credit, some landlords will say, I don't want to rent it out to your business, but I'll rent it out to you personally. So you want to make sure that you personally have good credit. Now, as far as how much it costs to open, when you book a strategy call with me, so aside from just click, I never share the link like I did just now where you can just click and buy. I never do that. This is new. But usually I book a call with you first and we talk about it. But when you book a call with me, I ask you, one of the questions before we meet is, do you have $10,000 to invest in yourself? And the reason I say 10,000, even though my program is only 4,500, is because you need to have additional money for furnishing the house. Also, if you don't, some people already have a property, so they don't have to worry about first month, last month. Some people do have to worry about that. So it depends on the position you're in. If you need to rent a house to do this business, then you need first month and last month's rent, which may or may not be within that $5,000 extra that I talked to you about. Uh-oh, something just happened. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. If you can still hear me, can you put a 1 in the chat? Because something just clicked on my end over here. Okay, so you need to have at least, I'd say 5,000. Thank you. You need to have at least $5,000 cushion, at least, because you're talking first month and last month's rent that you need to pay, depending on where you are in the country. I don't know how much that's going to be. Plus, you need to furnish the house. Now, furnishing is not going to be as much as you think it's going to be because I teach you ways to go to Goodwill, thrift stores, what's that place? Habitat for Humanity store to buy secondhand furniture. I also give you an Amazon list of supplies that I use for my house. So you need to have that kind of, thank you, Kat. You need to have a little buffer. You need to have buffer. Hopefully that answered the question. If it didn't answer the question, let me know. And actually, we can meet too. I'm going to put that in the chat too. I'm really talking long today, and I'm hungry. Okay, hold on. Let me just put my Calendly link in the chat, and then I'm going to get back to this. I promise I'm going to get back to it. We're almost done. We're on step 5. So if you want to meet with me, no charge. If you want to meet with me for a few minutes, I will put that into the chat. Go ahead and book. That's my calendar. Let me put it into the YouTube chat now. Boom. Okay. Okay, let's get back to it. So we have talked about mindset. We talked about setting up the business, getting the house, marketing, and we have not talked about the day-to-day yet. So let's talk about the day-to-day. I got you on the day-to-day. That is module 5. The module 5 is operations. So resident intake, the agreement. Let's talk about common challenges, different ways to collect rent. So resident intake and agreement. There are actually 3 different ways that people with co-living houses do their lease. One way is just a regular old lease. It's a lease agreement. Another way is a licensee agreement. So basically at the top of it says, this is not a lease. That way you pretty much scare the people and tell them like, hey, if you break any of these rules right here, I can kick you out immediately. Most people will follow that, but there are some people who are kind of like professional squatters, and they know that you actually cannot do that legally in most places. You can't just put them out. You have to go through the eviction process. So when I first started and I had the 15 beds, some of the people were being paid for by an organization. So an organization was paying their rent for them, which is wonderful. That's fantastic. Right now, because of the way things are with the government and all that, it's harder to find that. But I had a sponsoring organization. The sponsoring organization would not accept my licensee agreement. They said that because they were getting grant money, from a different place. And they said that part of their stipulations for that grant is that each person needed to be on a lease. They couldn't be on any other type of agreement. It had to be a lease. So I had some people on a licensee agreement that said this is not a lease. And then I had some people on a lease. And it turns out the cops didn't care which one people were under. They said everybody has to go through the eviction process if they won't leave the house willingly. So I ended up over time, over the years, I ended up putting everyone on a lease. Okay, so there's another way. So there's a lease, there's a licensee agreement. And it depends on the cop too, because some cops look at my licensee agreement and say, oh, it says on here, this is not a lease and she can put you out because you did X, Y, Z. You have to leave. So I found that. And then I've also found some that are like, I don't understand this licensee agreement. You got to go to eviction court. The third way is a membership agreement. That's what Pad Split does. They do a membership agreement. So the company, so let's say you have an LLC. The LLC is renting from the landlord who owns the property. And in the LLC, I'm trying to make it not so complicated. The LLC has a bunch of members, and the members, kind of like they're a member of a gym or something. They're members of this this company that runs, like for my business is Roundtable Living. So they have a membership agreement with Roundtable Living. They do not have a lease. They don't have a lease. They have a membership agreement. And if they violate certain rules, I can terminate their membership agreement and they have to leave. And so that also, I've heard stories where it doesn't really matter. The police don't really care about the semantics. And they're like, you know what? This is a eviction court situation. So it doesn't matter if they're a member or if they signed a licensing agreement or a lease, you got to go to eviction court. So anyway, I went on a tangent there, but this is stuff that I teach you in my coaching program. So those are different ways of doing the agreement. Intake. I do give you in my coaching program, I give you the intake agreement that I use. Well, it's the intake questionnaire, basically. It's questions that I ask people to vet them and see if they would be a good fit for my house. You can choose whether or not you want to do background checks. When I first started and I had the 15 beds and it was just me, I didn't have an operations manager. I didn't have any help at all. I did not do any background checks. I just said no registered sex offenders. And you'd be surprised when you ask that question to people, are you a registered sex offender? They will tell you yes. So you'd be surprised when I ask the questions on my intake questionnaire, they tell the truth. I haven't had very many people that have lied on the intake questionnaire. So anyway, I teach you that. I teach you what house rules to put into place and also common challenges that you will face. Okay, so we're coming to the last part, the autopilot part. Hopefully you guys are still hanging with me. Let me just see if I have any questions. Nope. Okay, good. This is the scaling part. Okay, so once you've gotten through all the hard knocks and the learning curve of your first house, you're going to fill it and you're going to be ready for your second house. But how do you do that? How do you scale, especially if you're there all the time? That's the part that I focus on. The part actually that it separates me from all the other coaching programs on group homes that are out there is that I teach you efficiencies and I teach you how to work on the business and not in the business. The first bullet there, toolkit. I teach you all of the resources and the different tools that I use to run my group homes from afar. So even though you might be in the same city, you might be in the same city where your group home is, you still don't want to be there all the time. So you need to put things in place, systems in place so that you don't have to be there all the time. And that's what I teach you in the last module of my coaching program. So I make it the easiest way that I can. I teach you the weekly actions you need to do, the monthly actions you need to do. Also, I teach you about hiring an operations manager. So basically, you hire another you. You hire somebody who can basically oversee the house and deal with the issues that people might have. Sometimes there's personality conflicts and things like that. And I don't want to deal with those things because that's not my strong suit. Some people, that is their strong suit. It's not mine. So I hired an operations manager to help me to deal with the people issues. I also teach you accounting. So there's a certain way that I do my accounting so you don't have to do bills all the time. You're doing it twice a month. I teach the profit first accounting method. There's a book called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. I love that book. He doesn't have one that's for group homes, but I kind of took that book and twisted it up and made it fit group homes. And that's what I teach you is how I do my profit first accounting, which is on the 10th and the 25th to manage my group home accounting. So I have covered all of the steps 1 through 6 on how to open a group home. Hopefully you got something out of this. I've been talking for a long, long time. I saw a question pop in. Hold on, let me just double check. Is this recorded and can I watch it again later? I missed the first half and also want to show my husband. I'm so excited. Yay! I'm excited too. I am so excited. I'm so excited for you. So, sometimes it is recorded. It's on YouTube. And sometimes I go live on YouTube and then I take it down because it's like I'm taking my sips of water and I'm talking to you guys and it's just not a fun watch. So I have gone in and edited one of my lives. I think I edited it and I put it on YouTube. So I think there is one that you can watch, but it might not be this one. It's my own thing. I'm like not, even though I might look comfortable, they say be the duck, or the duck is on top of the water and he looks all still, but underneath his little legs are paddling. That's me. I'm being the duck. I'm not comfortable. So I don't know if I'm going to put it up. I don't know if I'm going to leave it up. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody said, very informative. Oh, no. My client, she said she was unable to join the live. She's not able to get it to work. I hope it looks like y'all are having a fine time. I think you guys are good on YouTube. Okay. So I've covered all the steps. Heather, you know what? I'll leave it up. I'll leave it up for like 2 days. I'll leave it up for 2 days and then I'm going to take it down because I'm going to feel uncomfortable with leaving it up for that long. How long has this been? Is there a timer? I've been talking for a long time. Okay. Okay. Going back to this. Here's the link. Silly girl. So I do have a payment plan. Like I said, your investment is $4,500. I've been talking for an hour and 39 minutes, it says. So, going back to the ROI game, you're investing $4,500. I'm giving you back $2,000 for the rest of your life, or however long you want to have a group home. And then for 2026, I am going to add a few things. I'm going to add 90 additional days of mentorship because right now I just do the 6-week program. I'm also going to include a done for you website because a lot of my coaching clients have been like, I need a website, but I don't really want to deal with that part. And then I'm also going to give you some leads for whatever area you're in. I'm going to give you the caseworkers. I'm going to give you 100 verified leads. And the price is going to be $9,900 for next year. But for right now, for 2025, you are getting the 6 weekly one-on-one coaching calls, the lifetime access, and all the scripts and documents and templates and a workbook. And your price is $4,500. $4,500. Okay. So let's go. Oops. What did I just do? I just went to the wrong place. There it is. Okay. Done. Done. In closing, think back to that vision. slides ago, we talked about what is your life vision 1 year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. I want to help you get there. If you want to have a group home, which I know is super niche, like people don't really talk about group homes, but I love my group homes. I have three of them. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love my group homes and I love the income that comes from it. I love helping the people. I love visiting my group homes. They make me laugh when I talk to the people there. I'm not going to post it online, but I have a little short clip. One of the guys who's in my group home, I asked him if he liked it there. And he's an old man. And he said, yeah, I think I'm going to kick the bucket here. He loves it, but I'm not going to post that because that's messed up. But anyway, I want to help you get there. If you're still here in the class with me, that means something is resonating with you. So use the link that I put in the chat. I think I need to pin it somehow. Use the link, either book a call with me or go ahead and click on making your purchase. I don't work with any more than 10 people at a time. And I do have some slots open right now because I give you a lot of attention. Actually, I'm probably going to increase that because I don't have a day job anymore. So I might increase that. But anyway, thanks for joining. I'm going to stop the slide show right now and go to the Q&A. Okay, so set a call after my husband watches. Okay, yes. Set up that call, Heather. I would love to talk to you. I'd love to. And is there a way for me to pin this? Nope. Okay. On YouTube, I think I can pin the link. There it is. Pin. Okay. If you have questions, throw them in the chat right now. I'm going to just wait a few more seconds and then I'm going to get off of here. Thank you. Everybody who's still here, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you. Oh, I still got 7 people on the stream on YouTube. I can't believe it. I would have hung up by now. All right. Just checking my phone right quick. All right. Speak now if you have a question. Otherwise, I am going to log off. Have a great evening, everybody. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.